Off the Ball podcast. Hear it, live it, love it.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of the Ball podcast, a very special one as we bring down the curtain on the 2024-25 Botswana Premier League season, or should I say the football season right here in Botswana. We have very key stakeholders right here in today's episode of the Ball podcast, proudly brought to you by Stanbic Bank Botswana, M-Zone Media distinctive brand, AmGlamspace, amongst other sponsors that we have right here today. Ba ile gore motho tshwantse go tsamaya jalo a ba lemoge o lebeletse jalo ne thuto e tswile gore ba tsamaya jalo ba e dira for Off the Ball podcast. Re na le gape jalo Gatscon investment ba ile gore ke bone ba ile gore ba rotloetsa jalo gape this episode of the Ball podcast, and this is how you're going to do it. You're going to reflect on the 2024-25 season, look at some of the highlights and lowlights of this season. Going forward, ke eng se ne gore re ka se dira for our football in the country, gone gore re tsamaye jalo re godisa re isa go selebegong se leng gore se ka rekisega tota le ko mahatsheng a mangwe. Mo tswela melina ke Edwin Mashiakgomo. Let me introduce the panel ba ile gore be kena le bone a go godimo gone ha o ka dijalo gone gore there's also the audience ba ile gore ba teng gore ka komorago ka tsa majalo ba iponela gone gore hantse ba tsamaya jalo ba akhela kana ba tshwela ka this 2024-25 season. Let me start off with the technical director Botswana Football Association, Mr. Kaelo, Waya Kaelo, Mr. Kaelo, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And let's appreciate that there's some viewers at home. The audience is here. So I think and hope it's going to be a great session tonight.
Yes, it's going to be a great session indeed. Let me also welcome Robert Sephambi. Robert Sephambi is an accredited coach, should I say football coach. He is a teacher by profession. Not only that, he does a lot of things. Is also a sport analyst.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eddie, for having me.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Right. Tweed, very interesting development that you are also bringing to the football. Hona le ba ileng gore o tsamaya jalo a ba rotloetsa le gone ke bua jalo ka batshameki gareng ga ba bangwe le ditlhopha tse e leng gore o tsamaya jalo a di direla. Tweed, thank
you so much for having me, bro.
Right. And as I've already alluded, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much also for joining us at home. We have the audience also here ba ile gore tsamaya jalo re ntse re lebeletse yone paka ya 2024-25 ya Botswana Football League. Re belele gore gone mme ke eng se ile gore re di se dirile sentle ga ra dira sentle ga kae re thela e gone mme gone gore gongwe re goroge ko e leng gore re batla go e bona e le teng. Let me start off with you, TD, at Botswana Football Association. Gongwe re simolola ha hela looking at the 2024-25 season, a very interesting season, one should say, but let's hear from you. What would we say has stood out for you in the season?
I think the 2024-25 season, I remember the resurgence or the emergence of traffic. Traffic throughout the season. If there was an award for Team of the Year, that award I think it would go to traffic for the efforts that they've put. You may recall traffic has always been battling relegation. They have been going up and down, but this season or the last season that has just ended in May, it was a team to beat. But everybody wanted traffic to win, including myself, because of the efforts that they've put, the kind of football they will play. Because sometimes you win matches, o sa tshameke bolo ka mokgwa ba latedi ba eletsa ka teng kana le rona bo coach. You may want to win, but you also need to entertain the supporters. And the supporters are the first people to judge whether team e tshameka ball the way ka mokgwa e tshwanetse gore o tshamekiwe ka teng or otherwise. So Traffic has stood out as the team to beat this season. And from my perspective as the TD, the one thing that let me just talk about the how the game was organized and officiated. I think for the very first time we didn't have a lot of issues surrounding officiating of games, how the games were managed. I think it's a plus for those handling that area. From my perspective as the TD, I think one of the lowest points it's already derived as the team or as football people in Botswana. My role as the technical director is to drive football development. And when we say football development, we are basically looking at the youth. We do produce and develop very good players. By if you may recall, last year, September, we took the under-20 team to Kwasafa, Namibia, Mozambique. And there were some standout performances in Mozambique. One of the players, Philip Kaku, one as a man of the match twice, and Yomongwe another man of the match. But when you see these people, how they transition into the senior teams, we don't see that. And Ronaldo or BFA, these players are well developed to play for these teams. The only thing that they need is the opportunity to be given correct because what we do is identify the talent, we develop the talent, we promote the talent, or we integrate. If you were following Santos, for instance, Santos had 4 boys from our development side, primarily those players, Badna Baloko, Mogomotsi, Center of Sport Excellence. 3 of them were playing regularly. 1 was coming in and out. But ever since that, those 4 boys started to go Santos. Ba winner consistently, bad drawer. They managed to eliminate Traffic. Unfortunately, but I was following them and I'm happy with their performance. And I can only say, if other teams can follow what Santos were doing, they were not roping them in because they didn't have the players. Yes, of course, they don't have the resources like other teams. But we can use the same argument to say, look at GU. GU, once the moment the new coach arrived, we saw that the boy Pist having a chance to play. And where was Tips before that? He was nowhere to be seen. And these are the players that were developed by the association. And we are not saying play them because they have been developed by the association. We are saying play them because they are ready. They are ready. It's only that you need to give them. When I was still a coach for security systems, the likes of Kopelang, the likes of Tawana, those were people that players that I gave them the opportunity. And it was a tough decision for the coach to do because there were other players, senior players who were ready to play week in, week out. But you see, as a coach also, you also need and have a responsibility to ensure that there is progress in football. Progress, where do you get progress? We get progress in youth. We don't get progress in senior players who are already in the evening of their careers. So that is the lowest point more we don't seem to promote youth. And I don't know because how we ensure compliance, because usually the club license would say register 5 youth players They are registering 5 youth players for compliance. But we don't see these players in these matches. We don't see them. And other players will be given 5 minutes when they are losing the game, so that after that the argument is said, no, you can see where we are playing these youngsters. That's where we are losing. Where I'm sitting, I'm saying there has to be, when we negotiate sponsorship, there has to be some money put aside within the sponsorship to say we incentivize every team that gives these young players a chance to play. You will not have a problem with having players to retire at the Zebras or at the Mess. As we speak, the Mess, if you look at where they are right now, the team is not where we want it to be. So we need a generation to fill in the space. So where do we get that? We get those in the developmental sides that we are developing as we speak. So I think that's what I can say as my opening remarks.
Thank you so much for that, Coach. And I love the fact that you've already touched base scope as the TD, so development. We'll get to that point. What can be done in effort? You don't only do it for compliance. These youngsters to say no. You just want to meet your name, compliance. Let me also bring this question to you, Rob. What would you say are your highlights of this season, and also touch base on the lowlights?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, bro. For me to say the league was successful, there are a lot of variables that we can pick, and TD has already alluded the traffic part, because it's very interesting to see a different team like Traffic coming up, like competing with teams like Township Rollers, Gaborone United, the mine teams, Orapa and Dijuaning Galaxy, because we know those teams have good resources. But to see a team like Traffic coming up and putting the whole shift until from the beginning to the end, and where you know where they come from, Traffic, TD has already said they've been relegating, coming back and going. So it was an interesting thing. But I will give it up to coaches. What I liked mostly is the different approaches to games. To me, I'll give it up to coaches, which the TD has trained. A lot of them are CAF license holders. As you know, the requirement of local football, you are supposed to have a CAF license to be the head coach. So I saw a diverse approach to game, the diverse tactical approaches to different games, which made it very, very interesting from the bottom of the table, the mid-table, and the top table. It was not easy to predict which team was going to win the league until the last two games. So you saw that there was too much competition. And then when I got to the laws, there's something that is worrying me. Apart from what the TD has said about giving the youth opportunity. As a youth development coach, I also say the same sentiments with the TD that we seem to be doing a lot of complying with the club license issue and not promoting the youth by giving them a opportunity to play. I always say the game, Wana Pro, is the best teacher to these young players. When you develop them from grassroots and then they graduate to youth, we expect them to be playing in the league. When you talk about the player pathway, that is where we are missing it. We can do a lot of things in the foundation and develop them, but where are we taking them to? If we don't give them the space to showcase their talents, we are more like breaking that pathway. They're supposed to go up to the senior national team. So that is one of the things that I feel we are still behind in terms of promoting the youth. But again, we give it up to Botswana Football League for having a smooth run of the league. We haven't had so much issues, so many. There were not so many cases about games which are not ending. the league was playing and it was played very well. That was interesting. And then as the league was progressing, we saw a number of supporters coming to the grounds. Because of one, like I was saying, I'll give it to coaches, beautiful football which was displayed by most teams. If you look at your top 8 teams, they were coming out. Yosua United was one of the teams that came up playing beautiful football. You saw the rise of Moshudi Center Chiefs, which is to me was a very good thing to happen to Botswana football, because we need such teams like Moshudi Center Chiefs, without even forgetting Extension Gunners. When those teams come forth and compete with GU Township Rollers, we have an interesting league like we saw. I think that is what I can say about the league in overall.
Rob, thank you so much. Tweed, Bakang, Selelo, also, I want you to have your 2 cents more the league 2024-25 season. Kwane gore wena o ibone ka tsela ntse jang le gone gore if there's a gap, the gap ze di go di teng di haga.
Okay, thanks for the question, bro. Well, as for my 2 cents, I would say the just ended season was a great season. The competition was very fierce from the start until the finish. We've seen some teams making such progress, very good progress. Like the TD has already mentioned, we can signal out traffic amongst the others. We know Moshudi Center Chiefs had just gotten back into the Elite League 2. Also, I feel we need to commend them for the effort. Other than that, I would specially mention Matebele VTM. Although they were inconsistent, but they've put in some great shifts. They gave some big teams tough tests even along the way. I feel we need to commend them for that. As for the other successes, I would say I was more impressed with the youngsters who are fairly given a chance. I can signal a few. Peter Pist, there's Temos Ropolo from Township Rollers. I had just discovered him even. I felt Lesansin, the goalkeeper, VTM goalkeeper, he's been consistent all season. I feel we need to commend that. We need to encourage those boys. Like the TD has mentioned again, they're very much ready. Now I feel it's time we feed them to the big teams. They can start games. They can compete. They've shown that. Even for just before the just ended season, we had the likes of Masita Oka, which were playing with youngsters, and they were really competing. So I feel all in all, I would say it was a good season. Although some teams disappointed, we actually expected a lot from them, but they actually didn't come to the party. But altogether, all in all, I would say it was a good season for the Elite League. But also, I think we need to mention the first division leagues. I feel, although I actually got aroused and much interested into them in the second round, I feel the competition was tough. As you can tell, even the last games, the championships was decided in the last 5 games or so. So I feel that way it shows the competition was really good. It shows some growth to our football. Yeah, as for the negatives, I would say the inclusion of youngsters is quite limited. My 4 brothers here have said, it's limited. We don't see quite a lot. Some teams don't even play youngsters at all, yet they have registered them. But we need to improve of that. I think I had also forgotten to mention, to give credit to the league committee. I feel it was a good season. We know the Botswana football season is full of conflicts and whatsoever protests, but we hardly had a thing the past ended season, and we need to commend them for that, and I hope they will definitely keep that up.
Right, we need to commend that for them, and we'll also dwell much into the league committee. Let me also introduce the backbench. There I can see Katso is right in the audience. Maybe have someone out there also what their 2 cents.
Tagile dumedise. Nna ke bula Thatorantia. Ne ke reditse ha Chidi ya bua re kwa ya Kaelo. Yes, o na bua ka one development gone gore gongwe kana bangwe ba batshameki ga ga ba kgone go fiwa sebaka se se kalo-kalo ebile go na le team tse le gore gape ga di kgone go ka dirisa bone batshameki bone bao ba re ke ba tswa ko development-eng a kere. Mme yaanong go na le melao e le gore e beilwe ya gone gore di-team tse di tshwana ke gongwe kore molao wa teng ke molao o supang gone gore di-team gongwe di ka kwadisa gongwe palo e kana ya under 17 kana ya under 20. Batho ga ya go tsena ko mabaleng ga ba dirise. Ne ke batla go itse gore a mme go na le molao o e leng gore gone e o ka se kope ke le ga ko apekela coach scheme ebile ga ko kwa molalala gore o batla go ka ba team ya go yang. Why gongwe go sa nne le one molao o e leng gore o supa gone gore gore re kgone sentle e nne molao o e leng gore ko e leng gore o monitora di-team tsotlhe tse re di mo Premier League yalo o supa gone gore gongwe at least under 20 o nna le one player, at least gongwe under 23 or whatever sa te mongwe o se kwadile. Mme ko le molao e leng gore o nna o le teng o e leng gore o laola di-team tsotlhe. Mme se gore be go pekelwa coach scheme. Ke sampe ke dumela gone gore sampe re le mo kganyeng ele ya gore motho a le 17 years, 18 years o monyenyane. A re tseye sekai gonana tsoga o ye ko bo Spain. Tsa sekai ya ka ena Yamal ko Barcelona bona gore o ira eng gonana. Mme he's a youngster o monyenyane yala thata 17 or 18 somewhere there. Mme bo Botswana la mona le 18 or 17 gape nya ke ngwana. Kgang ye gore go e tlogela leng.
Well, thank you so much for that submission also. But before the TD can come in, I don't know if there's also anyone out there who can also, well, we'll get back to the audience as well. Coach, the compliance policy. The motherboard, the Botswana Football Association, has that compliance policy to say you don't only register these 5 players, the youngsters, you also have them more this team setup but or should I put it this way, where should be the starting point looking at all these challenges looking at these youngsters?
Okay, I think let me start by not answering your question. I'll come to your question. Ga ke bua the law ke buile la development.
Yes.
But I'm happy that Bakang o buile one of the highlights. If you watched Matabele, wow. If you watched VTM, you could actually tell how these teams are coached. Because team I coach you our boy. How I born a lot of team I coach you. The boy me well over barata bolo halan habai in from the technical side. But our bola teammates me wouldn't be.
Lwa bele bona ya ke a coach ya la bua gore ya be ya coach le raya le lwa wa e bona tiba e coach ba
Bo me ba bona la passage kwa ya ko le kwa motho a dribble o mongwe ba bona eso ga ba bo. That is why they can even give you their favorite player. Means or ba itse sepe ka nna they will give you a favorite player. And that favorite player hansi kwena o lwena o ka mo choose ona. This is your best player. But the low points are league ya rona last year. I remember ke na le under 20 ko Khosana. I think we lost about a good number of coaches, highly qualified coaches. But we were like willy-nilly. Khosana mabaka. We are relieving this coach of his duties on account of poor performance. Ne le dilo hela tse ile gore ke ipotsa gore ka gore coach e le jwa ka performance ka the results. What was the cause? I still want to find out because that was uncalled for. And we are talking about qualified coaches. And when we say qualified coaches, ke ra batho ba na le CAF-A license. And when we're talking about CAF-A license, we are not talking about coaching pathway, le mainstream education. Ke ha motho ngwa ibula ya ko university. Go a berekwa. And you find Aketsa Skaisa Center Chiefs. They started with Messi. He organized them into a team. In a winner match. Remember, they were just coming from buying a status. They were winning games and playing good football. All of a sudden, the coach is not there. Township rollers. Teenage started with them. He didn't continue with the team. So this thing, I'm sorry to say that, to say this. You see, from our perspective as coaches, football has always been tagged. Ke sport sa batho ba ba seng intelligent. They may not be intelligent academically. Like very recently, I kopela bana ko dikolo ko Nanogang kwa ko bo kae. Matitjhere ba re, lona kana batho ba BFL to re tsetsa dijanda ba reduce performance ya rona. And remember, Nanogang has been very good when it comes to academic excellence. But when it comes to coaching, we also have smart, brilliant coaches, people who have gone to school. Because how wanna go and go the elements of sports science, there are some very few exceptions. But football people are smart people, they're intelligent people. Mo e le gore ga gongwe o botsa botlhoko e re gore o bona an A licensed coach, o bo re o mmatisa le a chairman of a certain club or a club. O itela e le gore ke motho e le gore some of us nako ga re tshameka ke batho ba nna ba suthela gore bona re tshameka. This mismatch ke yone e dirang gore e re ga gongwe coach a lose game e le 1 or 2 go to coach e tsamaye ko. Because as a coach, you need to be given time. For those of us who have been in teaching, we're still in teaching, I was a teacher. You know, how the first few weeks, you need to know your students. They need to know you. So it takes time. But and we still regard people who are coming from outside our borders as more advanced in terms of coaching. No. People who come here and look at our courses, within COSAFA, Botswana is one of the countries with very smart coaches. So we still have this belief here. I used to say to I used to offer English and Setswana. You guys, if you are given a choice, you're not going to choose me. Just because you think I cannot teach you the same principle or Nathan. People have been conditioned Botswana the Botswana coaches I cannot do. But Zebra see land ties am I go AFCON. That was their major success. Of course, there were foundations. So let us allow people to do what they've been taught. Now I am sitting as the technical director. I'm happy enough that content material or content well, it has been approved by CAF. That is for another day. Here are another low points. One of the low points go my former team. The demise of my former team. I think it pains me that after 1 year of my departure, where the team was playing for the league honors, all of a sudden, it is the first time we find a team with resources e relegate. The teams that relegate then it's a little hands the resources. Back then,
It's a new trend. Police ba di kile ba tsamaile.
policy, yes, policy how e lebeletse le yona kana you find le ko netane, you may be amazed ko BGF. Or there are some players who are owed money ko BDF. So these are internal things that a lot of us may not know. But Kadilo Dinseana, senior, I don't know what was happening with systems, but it's one of the low points here season in there. For a team in early season, if you go couple, final. Hey, yes, they were in the final. And I don't know how they are assessing their season this now that they played in the final of the FA Cup and they are relegated. So I don't know how they are going to view that season, whether it was a success or not. But where I think I'm sitting as the former coach and Moto, but I'm going to the team I think they didn't do well. And one of the things that you team in it's even want to get a chance. Leona Santos, I think we need to be very intentional, you know. We need to be intentional to say, only the teams they are selling clubs. You know what happened next season they will not be playing for that team. And we must compensate handsomely to those teams that are developing players. Not only if you look at the case of Tsotso, they moved from Santos, and it's not one ahead. There are a lot of teams in the region. Say, Lord, these big teams, these players. Whether I more women football, I'm more men football. So we need to be saying, these are clubs who are developing players. When they develop players, they must be given that compensation. They will develop a player, not over the peanuts of opinion. And you know, Haki Kumahatsin, Haki develop a player about joiner, you about a joiner. So there has to be that how one has once so that should be the matter. But otherwise, those were the matter. But I'll go how in regulation. I think where we are missing it, way by a code of conduct manually. We need to put it in the regulations, a constitution, so that when we talk about non-compliance, but you see, these teams are owned by people by law. They sit on these boards. So, by compliance is but I think it will be best if it goes into the constitution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Coach. I don't know if you want to cheer before.
Yeah, no, I wanted to talk about, to address this issue. The coach. When we want to talk about serious football development, we should take everyone on board. I believe it should not be entirely on Botswana Football Association for our football to develop and our league to develop. Right now, when you talk about the product, league, we have qualified referees, we have qualified coaches. Everyone who is involved in taking part in the game is a 10%. But again, you find that there are football administrators, football owners who have never trained on football administration. FIFA has courses and CAF have courses on football administration. But the unfortunate part, we find ourselves here with people with a lot of money, and they don't have the know how to run the football. That's why they always fire coaches time and again without even considering what they don't have vision. In short, we have team administrators, team owners who don't understand how football is run. Football is not about only a game of 90 minutes and then we say you are done. So the reason why coaches were fired and we can't have a development where we just pick pieces where there's no consistency. So one low thing that we have, which is unfortunate, we need to train administrators. I don't know when and who is supposed to be doing the regulations of when you own a team, you need to have a football administration course. Or when you are running a team, you need to have that course so that you understand the product. It's not about only a 90 minutes game and that you have a team, you have money. It's about the knowledge of running the football. Because development is not about, like when I started, it's not about one aspect. It's a collection of all these things. But if you have an administrator who doesn't understand, who is a leader, who is leading a technical team, which has a know-how, and then they play games with officials who are well trained. So we are missing something when it comes to football administration. So anyone can administer a football. That is our downfall.
Right. Thank you so much, Rob.
I don't know, man. I think I want to chip in. I think go na le kganya game model. Ke ntse ke reditse TD here. A bua ka fa e leng gore teams are not helping in terms of developing. But is this not the right time, TD, now for us as a country now to make a decision? And the team should play with this kind of a game model, all of them, so that re kgone go thusa product ya rona gore e gole, especially young players. Because the team ka bontsi, if you look at them, o bua lo ka administration, Rob, it's because ga re itse gore re dira eng, hence we ka bua ka kganya game model. You look at the game model, e include sengwe le sengwe from high hierarchy go go class. So with that being said, ke dumela gone gore gongwe ke dingwe tsa dilo tse e leng gore a se nako yaanong gore re simolola gore re di lebe gore re ka ira jang, because there's no school sports. Of course, we can't be crying about that. We should be finding ways of improving our football.
He's talking about the game model. Before TD gets
before TD gets a game model. But we should differentiate between youth development and the elite league.
Yeah.
And then again, for me, like he's talking about school sports. So we should be having a reserve league for all the teams which are in Premier League.
Yeah.
He was talking about the regulation. Those are the things that should be put in the regulations, that if your team is playing the Premiership, you should have, we are going to play a reserve league. And then it goes back again, like I was saying, it's a connection of a lot of stakeholders. When Botswana Football League or Botswana Football Association go and outsource for sponsorship, put that in the package, sponsorship. We want you to sponsor our league, but we also have a reserve league that you should sponsor. Part of the money, sponsorship, league should also go to the reserve league.
Yes.
The reserve league is not going to give 4 players a chance of play. It's going to give the entire under 20 team or under 23 team for that team to play. And as they play, they gain more confidence, they gain more experience. Because I was saying the game is, you should play their league like their counterparts. When we are playing Gaborone United and Rollers, maybe one Saturday, in the morning, their reserve league is also playing that game. Their women's team is also playing that team. Their youth development structures, all the youth development structures are also involved in the league. So it goes back to when you go and negotiate for sponsors. In the package of sponsor, put the part of reserve leagues for these teams. That is when we will be taking our young players and giving them exposure going forward.
Well, the president of the association, Mr. Tariq Babitse, touched base on that, where I sent him to the top position, the Botswana Football Association, to say we're going to bring those development leagues. We're going to bring women football, national league. Before I can even go to Tweed, game model. Okay, let's TD comment first before we can take it Tweed.
Ke tsa gore ke tlhaloganya game model na batla go bua ka playing and coaching philosophies. Yeah, as Botswana, re itse re kaeng re batla go tshameka jang, because ha re na le yone, then it will guide us even in terms of talent identification. Gore ha re bona bana ba tshameka ha, what are the characteristics tse re di batlang mo bathong bao in terms of specific positions, or even in terms of coaching? How do you want to coach the players that we have identified to play within a certain style? I kry ano ra go lebelela dilo tse dintsi gore ke profile ya Motswana player. We can even borrow from athletics. Batswana ba na le stamina, ba na le endurance, ba na le, so that even when we bring people from outside, and that philosophy should be sold through my office, should be sold to clubs to say, yes, we know what each one of you have got their own style of play, their own philosophy on how they want to develop players, but this should be our framework. And when we develop that, there will be a lot of players coming in to contribute to the formulation this thing. We are starting. I'm sitting here yesterday. I was sharing with one of the members of our technical development committee. Share the framework and the areas of research that we can look at, because it's a key thing. And once we have developed this playing and coaching philosophy, now we get into what you call national football curriculum. Gore ha re tsaya ngwana wa 6 years, re mo ruta technique. Somebody at Showa, somebody at Hukunzi should be able to teach that the same way. How is more teaching? Kona le curriculum, educational curriculum. Go dira di syllabus, go dira di objective. Matitšhara ba ya ko tlelaseng. Le rona re tla be re dira jalo, bo coach ba tsaya ba dira inter-session plans. Ba ya ko lebaleng, so that there is uniformity in terms of how we coach the players at the end of the day. So that thing is in the making.
Right. Tweed, I don't know if you also have a comment with regards to what the two gentlemen has been saying.
As for my 2 cents, I would actually like to add on. I feel they are very, very much right. I've liked the point there, the game model. Yeah, we need to have a system. We need to have something that defines us. Like, as you know, Spain is known for that possession football whatsoever. They even know how to identify the right players to do that. So we also need to have our own game model that will, like the TD has already said, that will make it easy to identify talent that can actually take us very far, given that we have already identified our strongest point of which one will ultimately focus on. So yeah, that is just that.
So the level of competition or competitiveness
I would say no. We're growing.
We are growing.
Yeah, I feel we're growing. I'll mention my key points. In terms of consistency, there are very top players of which they even represent the national team time and time again, of which are very consistent. That is a positive. Now we've also started to bring new talents, including the likes of Peast, of which I feel 3 years ago, Peast wasn't, although he was promising, we didn't know he could actually perform to this level. So I feel the more we could actually give the younger boys a chance. We've tried and tested the older guys. I would say the senior players and whatsoever. We've actually tried them. Chichima, I'll signal him. He's been at the top level for the longest time. It's actually good to see Victor James coming on board as well. Now also stepping up. So that shows growth.
Ozil, before Rob can come in, you're talking about the top players, and I will give you a chance. maybe name your squad that is the national team squad. You pick all these players by you feel they're performing their performance go godimo dimo le betse ka ile gore tse ba performa ka teng go di club, but you send these players to, let's talk about this regional competition ya line ya shoko go ne ya COSAP. E ka re go level e simola gona questionable le gore me ntha o ka re go tla senyana. What's your take?
A ta ke tse sebaka se ke go leboga hebe ke boa ke leboga le TD ka ha a ntseng a yala ka teng o itshwere sente a ke dumela gore go ntsha le mosha mo office mme sa nthaela se re tshwantse re sa amogele hela gore wa amogele mathata gore tshwantse gore wa amogele gore bona na re mo mathateng ha re le teng ke crisis. We have to accept gore ha o ntha o ra go la gona na ke a go ganetsana lwane ke gore a ke re from team ya 2012 dream team under 23 ya ga Major Bright, may you so rest in peace. How do I lebella boro lebella gona na ba tsempia le the under 23 gona na boro ba compare le bana kwe. How do lebeletse dirang under 23 ya o ka ntha gona na mo liking ya rena rena le manyelo gore wa tumela level ga dirang wa tumela level ga jeki wa tumela level ga bo tebza sembo o mo ke decline go itaga jana so gona na se le re tshwantse re se dire tshwantse re amogela gore na le mathata in terms of football re ska re nne honest go Egypt ine banna a ke re nna go tero benchmark go Egypt ile na kwa bona ke mo motho he na go ene modiri marumo a tibate e ba bona gore bana le crisis goalkeeper e ba re no gona na go ra go ratswa le goalkeeper tso tsa se toditsana mo la tsela rona to develop our own players, our own goalkeepers bona bana le goalkeepers za bona ke le rona gona e kile rata ka molao o mongwe no le ka go tlhalosa gone ka di foreigner o le go tsa sometimes wa di oketsa gape why le one re sa o tsenye gone mo development ya rona gore a team e sontse re be e starta re kotas gona na ha re bua ka a develop player a motho a le 18 years a tebe re nya o developile go to kotsi bokotsi ba wa pick ya ga na 26 ka ona na go ne gompieno ya malo a bona gore is 19 TT na bua ya gore is 19 wa o 17 wa performa gone ya net highest level but ha rona ga ka tsa any player le ne yo go tengwa a bua le gone ya gompieno re tsamaile ka team e no ntsenya moganya kwa sa bana re tsere team e leng gore le ba latedi ke bona ba bana batho ba tshameki ba le bote ke bona ba rena go eletswa go taba ke chance ha ba yi chance but go and look at their performance there below par. So for now I think let's accept gore na le semo role re kile be rena la identification gompieno re le ka go tlhalosa ka one ya di game plan ya rona gore ke last strength sa rona ini bogologolo ne le go theka base and then me re tsa di team ka count gompieno a ne re gantse re ka kgona go dira ya we have a winger e leng gore o kgona go eliminate two defenders mo liking ya rona we don't have. Do we have that back four e leng gore ba kgona go reach the go pala go mara go tswala pressure we get go kosa to consider 3 goals in the zebras ya bo under 20 ya ye kwele ha se una re ka jwa 1-0 but me re protect le se le rona le so for us o ntse bona re kgona go re be leader 2-0 ka di team itsa mahatsa mangwe be re team e kgona go boya gore 3 wa re bontsha gore re mo mathateng we should accept gore ha re lenteng ha re kota in terms of football we have to go and restructure re simolle hela go development structure tsa rona initially ne re thuswa ke school sports we have to accept gore le one e re bola ile thata in terms of how develop ba tsena ka rona ba ne re ba bona go bobisi bona ana ha lo re bua ka ba tsaka ba identify ke BFA usually how developer mo 23 we expect gore khona go bona chumote and then what happens to others gompieno re bua ka Pisti re bua ka Chavi wa go Santos akere Petras yes ba bangwe ba kae ke bona ba ile go raba itse gone yana bone ba re heletse go wa kere gompieno ha o ntha gore ha rena mo samkelo re go rizinya ka sana gona na rena re mona le track record ya gore wa bela akere so ntse re sontse re simolle pele ra amogela gore ha re lente re mo mathateng monao re simolla re bona gore ka e prota yang go simolla gone go leka gone go develop tshameki ba rona ebile le gore gona na role gompieno we can see our players they are failing even to go export le go Africa borwa hela just to go and play ba start go ha ke re go tshaba go nna go bench mo South Africa ra start like bo mo used to bo Navara used to bo Joel used to ba winner bo play of the tournament there but gompieno we are failing even just le gore wa lebella gona na la re khulifele go akhosa wa AFCON ro re ska expect that sepe se hitang se ne se diragala ka 2012 le rena re tebe re tsontse re nne honest with ourselves ra amogela gore mathata a rona mantsi ha re wa lebela performance a rona go COSAFA ke ra mo go motho ya like our first game ya COSAFA ha o lebeletse ka ha le gore living to compete 5 passes ne we are feeling that ya well you wala kere gompieno Yawe like ha TD ke tswala ka TD ne rena le Patrick Motsepa gare ga lebala re na le offense nato gare ga lebala, ne re na le mogogi gare ga lebala, ne re na le, I think there were 5. Gompieno go ka ntlha gore ke lore hela gompieno go ntlha gore ga gare ga lebala ha re sa tsenye modingwane re na le go na ba 6 mo the Zebras ke a wena.
Mathata a mantsi
Bro,
ke sa se bua.
o bua ka mathata kana na I will always say it, even happily ha TD, but I'm happy because our TD now, if you can interact with him officing ya gago,
Yes.
there's a lot that is going to offer o ntse le ene ha se go tlhaloganya ka development. We cannot say our football is growing. Re sena youth development structures that is solid, that is sound. Right now, if you can go around Gaborone, there are a lot of football academies which are not regulated, which don't have the curriculum. The TD was talking about the curriculum, how they are training those players. If you can go there, you have maybe one hell, lady, because I've seen they've got a structure. So we don't have development structures that is solid. Then it's a crisis. So I wouldn't judge our growth here football at the national team, because that national team teach you can't super. They don't teach techniques. Some dribbling, some controlling. We work on tactics. We was talking about the highly qualified coaches, the professors go university. National team level, we don't expect the player who doesn't know to utilize spaces, who doesn't know how to control the ball. How is the coach going to work on the tactics on national team so that we can bring results? How players are control the ball on national team. So it's because you don't have development structures that is sound. So not to me, I will always say, even the implementation part, we can have good things on paper, the strategies. I've interacted with TD so many times. He's working on the strategic plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, so that we are deliberately qualifying for the upcoming major tournaments. We need to go back and start from there. So I've interacted with him so many times, even in coaching. So those are the things that we need. He's been there in the game. A lot of experience. He knows what is the medicine for our football. So let us go back to development. Serious. And we do development. And I will say it in front of TD. What development thing, TD, we need coaches. Those A licensed coaches, because that's where we start. If you start teaching a player, imagine, go grassroots, for grassroots, where you just identify them before they can transit to youth. And then we have a coach who are qualified. The poison that is given that player is going to grow with that poison until national team. So that is why I'm saying we need a coaches, go development thing. What the academy means on it is right. That is when I would say there's growth. We cannot judge growth by the results of our national team, because even those team players go national team, if you can count them, you are not going to find 5% of properly developed players. And development, the player is profiled. The reason why you are saying our players are not making it to go South Africa, just here, like the olden the players, the mentality obviously is different from the players at home. I watched the passion, the mentality was different from now, because now there's a lot of money issues and all the likes. You play for survival. You don't play that you have passion or what. So, but if you go back to why we are failing to export so many players, we have 4 or 3 players playing outside, is because we don't have profiles for those players. For you to sell a player nowadays, you need to have a full profile from 6 years old up to how many times did he play for national teams. The data, it goes back to modern trends of doing football.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Rob. TD, I don't know if you want to also.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with my colleagues. Their submissions are correct. And we have noted them because, like Abu, we have been part of Botswana. But if I can reveal to you, gompieno kana gore o simololo o ye go gongwe o tshwanetse gore o itse your own environment. How it's under 17, a boy at under 17, what's another 4 games in a year, international. We find a friendly game, and then they go to Kosafa to play these preliminary games in a group. So they get eliminated. We come back the following year, is do the same thing. Gona mme, a mme motho gona a ka improve jang a tshameka 4 games in a year. And if you look at the trend, they are our junior teams. The first game, we don't do well. Why? They are not used to the environment, the tournaments. We can invite Lesotho and play them Kulikidi, and they will play well. But when we go outside and play the first game, we get hammered. So what it means, Kiwara, let us expose these kids to a lot of matches. A lot of matches. Why we don't want them to win? Because we are talking about winning prematurely. We should be talking about developing them. Kana player pathway. In a level train to train, we tell how to train to compete and train to win. So how usimula bana or ba win? And they are red signals. You watch a match, what's a mega under 13. You watch a match with Habagora, all the parents, the supporters, even the players, 13-year-olds, they are celebrating for a goal. People should not be celebrating when these kids are scoring goals, because that is not the idea. The idea is to watch and observe. Is the technique okay? How is the utilization of the space? The overall things that make up a player. So, for Ajax, how about developer the player back then? What they used to do, they will rotate the players, right? They will rotate the coaches to say 3 weeks or 6 weeks you are with this team. 6 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks you are with this team. Why they are doing that? Because once you give the coach a certain group of players, he is going to coach them to win the game, not to develop the players. So again, at youth level, what we should be saying, yes, I like the school sport and we are engaging with the government. And I think it's going to come. We are going to target primary schools. We have started engaging by ISA. ISA is a body and visa at the private schools. We have already facilitated them because they're grassroots. So we are engaging in that space. But one thing that we do also because of our attitudes as parents, as coaches, at youth level, we should have a requirement inserted in the regulations on how are under 13. By the end of the year, all these players must have played the same minutes. Because what gives you a right, or what makes you think, or this one should play 15 minutes, this one should play 5 minutes, when they are both developing? So it must be same minutes, and how we are profiling data management system. Ra gonna le player tracking system. Ya gore motho tota e bile re simolotse ka bananyana ba banyenyana. So there are a lot of things that we are trying to do within the space of within a short space of time. But the one thing that we are trying to do, and I think even you guys, the media, you should help us. When we send out a team to South Africa, under 17, under 20, don't say go and win. No, we are not going to win. We are not going to win. The under 15 that we are developing now, when we send them to, what we are going to do, under 15, actually we have started an academy at Likidi. That's good news for you. An academy is going to flourish as we go. There are students who are going to Nanogang and others are going to Mauka. They are resident of Likidi as we speak. go na le eo ba tlhokomelang. Mme ebile maikelo a rona as we go, because ke project ya FIFA, we are going to get what you call the talent coach. So that is for another. And the idea ya rona at technical ko BFA gore this team under 15 ha e simolola go na le COSAFA this year is the one who is going to play that COSAFA just for acclimatization, not to win. Because we get to know, we get to this idea or could be they are still developing. It's high expectations, but when they go for the second COSAFA, that's when we can say. And what we are going to do, we are going to target standard 6 and standard 7 so that we can develop them for 3 years when they are doing JC. So that is the things that we are trying to change ko BFA. The rest bale 15 years, and because it's too late. Thank you
so much, Teddy. And we are getting close to the end of this special podcast. Your recommendations, Tweed, in the next season as Bakang in Botswana Premier League, looking at how teams in what would be your recommendations?
I think my first recommendation would be for club, like the TD has said, coaching is not easy. So when you give a coach 5 games, he does well in 2 games, and then the next 3 he doesn't. Then you chase him. Still, the team doesn't move, doesn't progress. So, but I would say, going into the next season, I would actually like to see teams giving their trusted coaches. In as much as they start the seasons with them, I believe they would have put all that trust in them. So they should give them some time, although they may start slow, but ultimately, let's give them a fair chance to see what they have. Also, I would say, going into the next season, inclusion, I don't know what the BFA or the BFL has to say in regards to this, but maybe we can have a clause which say the under 20 players, the 5 registered players, can they at least play 40% or 30% of the games in all competitions? I feel that can still steer us into the right direction in terms of development. Yeah, so that is that. Rob?
Yeah, no, for me, there is a lot of potential that we have in our league. We take, for example, the issue of branding. When we talk about the product of the league, we're talking about teams, but the teams are the ones which are suffering. They don't have money. They are relying on grants. My wish is to see teams not rely on the grants that are coming from the sponsorship. I need to see a diversity in terms of soliciting sponsors and the branding in the grounds. It's high time we see the digital branding at the grounds, teams utilizing those empty spaces that we always see. Every time we see the BFA and then the BFL boards, we don't see a lot of sponsors in there. So teams should up their games and use that and find supporters, register supporters, because when we talk of supporters and the success of a team, you should register your support base. So when you go to sponsors and talk to them, you have something in hand and you tell them, this is what I have, this is the number of supporters that I have. So that's what I want to see, because it will develop our product. When it comes to national team, because the league also affects the national team. When there is no league, it's going to be difficult for national team coaches to select players. So this is what I'm expecting to see, and I hope to see a better football again, and the consistency in terms of keeping coaches, because it also contributes to the brand of the football what we play. So I wish the administrators and owners of the team can give coaches a chance, like he mentioned, consistency at least, and they have an understanding of where the coach is going and the direction. So it's a pity some relegated, but I think they'll go back and then come. And then the other thing that I also feel is lagging behind is the issue of first division, both north and south. We are talking of a league which doesn't have a sponsor. but it's a feeder league to the elite league and eventually to the national team. So if we have a league like that with no sponsor, it's a red flag for me.
Thanks, Rob, for your contribution. Your closing remarks, TD?
Okay, what I want to see happening. Let's talk about midweek games. I don't think they have good value. They are helping us market our game, even in terms of revenue. I don't think they are giving us anything. So if they can avoid, you see, if you look at the Friday games, Friday evening games, they always attract a lot of supporters. So let's target this games really there because for people to come from work ba re ba ya di-gaming surely tota ga ke dumele gore re dira se e le gore bolo e tshwanetse gore se dire. So midweek games ga di eme pele, so very targeted dates. When it comes to di-team jaanong ka botsone, I think he mentioned the sponsorships sa first division, north, the south and north. A team that wins go national first division, I think they're getting about 20,000. How do you compete? Le motho o win 1 million. When I win the first division. I mean, surely that is why a lot of these clubs, the promoter, they cannot attract good players because of their finances. So they must be given that money, or it can sustain themselves. It can sustain them. Not in terms of prize money. Like league, league sponsorship se gole. This kind number 20,000. Can I believe currently nowadays? Go second team the first team, I think the second team to do. So it doesn't help. Ke yone ebile e dirang Premier League gore every season how ke promote next season ke a boela ko nne ke le teng. So it end up e le gore some teams may say go ya go Premier League is not our cup of tea. Lastly, ga e kare ka mosong e be ke tsoga ke be ke utlwa mongwe a re o sponsora a youth league. A youth league. Re be re emisa because bo GU bo rollers ba tsaya gore ra tsena re ba ba tshamekisa bana ba rona. If you can have a youth league, let me share with you. Maloba ke ile ko South Africa le under 20. Ga re jo 6. Ga ke bala mo Facebook ya teng. E la lo le phatalla bo. And not knowing what the team that we played nako ya teng rona ne re tsere team e ne re ipaakanyetsa region 5 gompieno. The team that we used ko Mozambique ne re e phatlheletse kana bo segopolo ba rola sele ne bo kaku bo eng ba nna ba seng. So ne re tsere ba e le gore ne re lebelela ko pele. So we traveled to South Africa. South Africa, they had qualified for COSAP. Ba tshameka le about 10 players ba tshameka mo PSL against batho ba e le gore it was their first international. Ba re hamara 6 ya phatalla go. The same team in area ke yone e winning under 20 Africa Cup of Nations. Ko ke Egypt and Morocco. Gone ko. So se re ka se direng ke gore if we have a sponsor specifically for that. I was invited to the games. Sundowns were playing vets, under 13, under 14, under 15, under 19 on a Friday. And you find the parents, they spend the whole day there supporting their kids. And on Saturday, we played South Africa. And Sunday, when people are going to church, we go again. That's where playing ran back. Under 13, under 14, under 15, under 19. You go there at 8 o'clock. You come back at. And SuperSport, as a television, they were broadcasting those games live. Live. If we can have a government where they can, televise these games, whether it's a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, we have a dedicated sports channel for government. Then we can, because we can play these games, but if we are not seen, if we are not marketing them, people will say we are not doing anything. Thank you.
I think you've brought another important element there, Coach, because it's something that you also, I think that will be in our next session, that is broadcasting, because you always complain, how do you even select the player of the season, or it's a guy, because other teams, they don't get enough coverage, and you'll see whatever will do, so it's a disadvantage, and a lot of this, many of the matches, you find that coverage. But Tidi, thank you so much for making time for us. We'll keep following some efforts that the Botswana Football Association for development. We are more into development, and our next session will feature commercialization, branding, and also governance, because it is one other aspect that needs to be looked into. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Right. Katso, what do you have for us?
Manager,
and there's a trend currently ba media ba lela. There's a trend ba media ba lela gore ha go na le category A games. Bothata ba le ba je monela la tele la gagwe for just a minute, then you wrap it up. How much
Ke nya bona na o se swa bana ke mohago tsa ko he TD wa bana o tla o isa go pele ga ke itse re go kae go ba kopang ditsompelo teng. Okay, go ba kopang ditsompelo teng ga nya miki TD o tla tsaya le mohago ga go pele ke nna ke bua le bona banna ba ngwa re ka go wele senka kwa ya gona gore I think ha re leng teng gwanana is high time ya gore ya ka di company ga go tse di company tse dintsi thata mo Botswana go tshwanetse go nne le molao le lona le ga go kollela gore go nne le molao o ileng gore o ka dira gone gore ra company e tla go tsena mo Botswana gongwe e do investa mo Botswana go bontlha bongwe bo e ka metshameko go mo le gone ke tsa kere go ka thusela thata ha ka tswa ya go South Africa o ithela le melo e le gore teng ya ba berekela da di go gona bona di sponsor di balola ba le bantsi ko le ke ya bona ga se ke thoke sponsor o gona go dira ngwe ba tse di sponsor di tsana bo 10 bo 20 e be gore ba top the best sponsor mo go bona re ba bona le rena go ntse le mo Botswana nne molao wa gore ha company ta go company ya gore ha e tsena mo Botswana bogolo go tenya mme bontha bongwe o itse gore o tla buisa ka metshameko ene ke rata bona gore a go tsa football kana go tsa e right tota ke yone ga nye monno yana ga e bua re ba lla ko ba bane ya ne ba maru ya gona gore ana ha go ta metshameko ka reng go iteng go na le tsukano kgotha o ipotsa gore bothata ke mme a re simolang gore batla re market re te sente re bue sente o tlo re simola re itsa na sanong go tana kwa gore re heletse se re simoletse sente simola re itana ka dijaba ke bitsa re se ka tswa se ba ikwa ke so ke tsa ke re e tla ba ka go ganya te
wa ni mun wa re ruida ga ba itsa go ka botsana
No, I think I think it's all about stakeholder management. That is the issue I saw already. You need like earlier on when I started, I said football has got a lot of stakeholders. It's not about the 90 minutes. Yes. So media, you mentioned media, coaches, referees, supporters, catering, marketing. We're talking about branding. So if there should be someone managing those brands. There are different brands from different entities. So it's the issue of stakeholder management. If you are BFA, you are hosting Orange FA Cup. Who are your stakeholders? We should take off your stakeholders and manage them. If you are FNB, you are hosting a premiership, a category A game, and you are with BFA and BFL. So who are your stakeholders? Who is supposed to be managing those? I think that's the issue. Leonage contributes to lack or heavy sponsors.
Yeah. No, most definitely. I think those are the key aspects that as a already level in our next session. Yes.
We at media. The issue we are aware of it. Ordinary organizer the Orange FA Cup. The organizer is BFA, not BFL. The media raised that issue or go demarcated over by the media booth. We tell Laura no raise I think it's just Canada what's in how to could really lose in the wrong way. And I'm a football practice makes perfect. It makes permanent. Because what I allow smooth make it look correct going forward. The media it shouldn't already nail their space because without the media there is no game.
Hosi.
Ke kopa go ha TD mohago o a le kganya ticket pricing gore di-company ka bontsi di batla dipalo ga o tsaya di-company di le malwa ga stadium sone sa National Stadium go na le batho ba le 5,000 but ga le tebe re latha madi gale because ticket tsa rona di a tura 80 pula 50 pula mme gore wa lebele batho ba ba yang ko stadiumong 80 pula 50 pula 20 pula ga gore batho ba stadiumong ba letsa le 5,000 la zebra se tshameka ko France mme ke ena ko nngwe BFA ya go tshameka zebra se ngwe le bo Egypt a be a ko re lekeletse la re grandstand ke 50 pula ka seo se nna se tala a be re elsewhere 10 pula.
We've tried that so many times. We've been open the stadiums for free. Re bone ela go tshwana le sa tlela la re ndot.
Kan go push ka di-company di batla dipalo a company ngwe e bona stadium setetse e go ntare nyame go hale a se ka go ba billboard ya mahal batho ba le 30,000 ba go bona company.
It also brings us to another aspect of marketing and ke khagele gore santse re tie go dinela hatsi ozile
Tanta le nna ke dumelane le ene gore price a rona ke dumela gore e ha godimonyana. Ke cheaper ine gore ha godimonyana in this sense. So ye ke buisetsa go ditlhopheng tsa rona e bora go ditlhopheng tsa rona ebile e bora go batshameking ba rona. Ke ra gore how will I am going to spend my 30 pula le rona go be ke mojele ko lapeng only to see player le gore ke thola le ene go Sunday is okay. I think I re tlhaloganyeng jalo gore ha ile gore ke khone go thola le ene ga ke mmone ga ke tshameke le ene kana mo seno ke letse ke tshameka le ene game ya Saturday Sunday tebe le re ke duele ke go mmona ke bona mang gape le gore maabane le tse re sutana gona. I think it goes back to le rona ya batshameki ba rona the way ba ile gore in terms of ba golang ka teng ka ha ile gore ba ruta ka teng the way ba tshwantse gore ba conduct ka teng sa mala ba ne ke re bile khosafa one of reserve re eliminative mme go a re khoma ha le motshameki ha o lathegetse respond ya ga gore mme go ha reserve re le hatsi ha ke khona bona o shoot a video ya TikTok celebrating while we are knocked out le gone go mo at some point I think go bua go ra sengwa ka motshameki gore mme batshameki ba rona immediately after game respond ya bona after game ha game hela gore ba ira ya o lebelle batshameki ba mo gore ba dira yang go mahatsama ha o lebeletse batshameki ba elo ha o lebeletse Arsenal le Tottenham Derby a debile hela banna ba le batsana go ntse bile ba go thana go loa go tsana go tsa I get be mono re ba di players tsa rona tsa jiwe ya la game hela nya lebe baby some of them ga bana o tsana le ka channel address room ba palama stand ka go tsana ka because gona le go ile go iwa teng. I think it goes back to rona batshameki ba rona ka ene gore gongwe ba conduct ka teng le bone se ene gore wa seriksa ke se leng ke kana ke product these guys so they should ba tshwantse gore ba itse gore ha ba le hale ke bona ba rekisang di-team ke bona ba ene gore re tsana go gore ba lebella ba thaile gore nna le bone le bona ba itse stroke at some.
Well, yeah, there's something to note. We'll talk about the role of the media also when gore gone melona le sabe sa lona ke mo go lekeng go tsone professionalism e le gore re bua thata ka yone le hentse ka gogora right ya bona robo ga ro bata go
Pass
no gona ke country dintsi tse monno tse di nkgomeng tsa di buang tse leng gore mo le tsone di batla what this it goes back to regulations malatsana gona le bo betway le gona I think regulations will come e leng gore they regulate these players gore a kwa bona le lara go Premier League go Sunday so these are the things tse leng gore they also affect the product ya ball la o ka le boyang go PFA ga twa ka dilo tse leng gore it doesn't the other stakeholders will need to be taken on board. We can remember our players don't have managers, manager. So those are the things that you need to talk about. Ela, media, Botswana Football Association to promote our product.
Cameraman. I think when you're also introducing Kansabo better people who are making money out of our football, there should be provisions in order that put in place now as BFA to say, you know what, you're making money out of this thing, but we don't see you guys putting effort to grow the sport. So what role could BFA possibly play in bringing those guys on board? Se guy hela se open ke betwe.
Down, yeah.
Those are the regulations like he mentions as we interact with the minister, I think what you can interact with him. Those are the suggestions that they can suggest to him. In Botswana for sports to grow. This is what things like he's saying. This is what can help us also to grow as football. Whoever is making money out of football should be made to contribute towards that. And then the regulations are made co-parliamenting so that we develop our own sport, especially football. A lot of people are making money out of football, but football is not benefiting from those people and company.
But hey, but guy, hey.
For us to be having this kind of conversations today, I believe toro e re beleng gape le ga Motswana ba e bona le bone. In the near future, re tla bona le TDO, re na le Minister of Sports, important people ba e leng gore ba botlhokwa go godisa sports at large. I think if we can have them here.
To hear from them, what do they expect from the football? No, this is the kind of product that we want to align with. This is the kind of product that we want to invest in. What is it that they expect from Batubokela? No, those are some of the interesting conversations that we will have as Robert Akila mentioned the Gatscon stakeholder management, branding, commercialization of football, regulations, amongst others, governance. We will also engage on those topics and bring key stakeholders that are relevant to those topics here to discuss in effort to try to improve and with that we come to the end of this special edition of the ball podcast. The next edition, governance, we'll talk about governance in football and ratela ha kae ke se tshwantse re se dire gone go leka go godisa yalo kgwele ya rona ya dinao. This special podcast or edition of this Off the Ball podcast was brought to you by Stanbic Bank Gaborone, a collaboration with distinctive brands as well as M-Zone, AmGlamspace, amongst others. Ba ene gore e bone ba rotloetsi ba yone ga mo go jalo le Gatscon investment le bogela jalo thotloetso yeo re tshwaragana gape le mo nakong e tlang ke le botlhe ba ile gore ba nile le seabe mo puisanong tsonetse la tswela jalo re le ka gone gore re di tlise Off the Ball podcast on social media, that is on Facebook, we are also on YouTube. You can catch this conversations when you go YouTube Off the Ball podcast BW ke gone gore ka tsamaya jalo o re bona de la bilina ke Edwin pro Mashiakgomo moshimane wa motho moshimane wa peteka betsana moshimane o go tlhatoga mo yo ya re Batswana go mona ba re se popota ya moshimane se le tlapa senata se tsore sa moshimane a re sa go leto le maroka go nne go balabala ga ngwana le gone ga se botlhale re kopana gape mona go yeta. Bye bye.
Off the Ball podcast. Kid, live it, love it.